It's time for another What is Japan saying about blah, 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 blah. And today's general theme is, as you might expect, the recent producer letter live, or letter from the producer live 83, number 83. I think that's the full English name. We'll be looking at what aggregate sites such as Umadori and FF14 Sokuho, mostly Umadori, have gathered across the Japanese player base this week. These sites gather things from official sources, Twitter, and most often 5chan. So do keep in mind that some of these things and reactions can be pretty exaggerated, more so than a lot of places. More so than a lot of places. So we're gonna start taking a look at 7.1's the key art and what people were saying about it. They're pointing out that Bokul Jaja has is very noticeable in the key art, saying that it was one of the most, the devs are commenting that's one of the most popular characters in Dawn Trail, and that even in foreign countries they really enjoy him. And so we just have like the picture and them saying like, oh, it's Bokul Jaja and Prish. I believe that would be her English name as well. Are fighting, I guess, in the key art. And then 35 here is saying, if lion emoji, meaning Wuklamat, was actually popular, she'd be fighting Prish. They had to hurriedly swap her out for Bokul Jaja when they saw how much people liked him. 38 are saying, Bokul Jaja's popular? I get that in the latter half he's a good guy and got more attention, so he's better than most of the Dawn Trail casts, but he nearly killed thousands of people by releasing Valigarmanda, cried a little, and then was just let off scot-free. Kinda weird. 40 saying that, well, the voice actor did a really good job too. But I think it's more that it was Bokul Jaja versus Wuklamat instead of Prish. I don't get why these two are even fighting. 68 saying to 61, I think it's just I think they just threw these two characters together. They're part of this. They're part of the patch. They gotta be in there. 70 responding to 68 saying, maybe Lamau. Like, Prish will probably not even meet Bokul Jaja. Later on, we have 63 saying, I don't hate Bokul Jaja or anything. I just don't think he should be in this art. Prish is the main character here. 66 doing oh yeah, my mouse is freaking out, sorry. Doing a weird mocking bit with Wuklamat. Why are you there? Bokul Jaja. Well, you see, I don't actually know. I was just a bully, promise in name only. I don't know why I'm so focused on in this art piece. I didn't directly translate 349 and 349 here. But the general vibe is essentially that they feel like Bokul Jaja is the only character that was explored on Dawn Trail, thus people like him, essentially. They mentioned that Bokul Jaja was so popular that he even showed up in an Automaton news article for being one of the pretty much most popular characters. And I think somebody debated whether or not he was popular 2 in Japan, and 369 saying, well, yeah, even in Japan, he is the most popular character from Dawn Trail. I do think personally that the idea that, oh, well, they like scrambled to put Bokul Jaja in there because he's popular, I don't think that's the case at all. Not necessarily scrambled, because I don't know how early these sorts of key arts are even done. While they would have had some stuff like broad strokes and plans and what have you, I doubt this piece was even done like that much before the patch either, right? I wouldn't be surprised if the patch art was done really recently and it wasn't even like in the woodworks, like it wasn't even in the pipeline yet. Like the request that Yoshi-P would have had to send out wasn't even sent until at least some time through at least some point a little past 7.0. They probably had some general ideas, like obviously they probably wanted an FF11 character that's gonna show up. They probably wanted the Dean or Gaia of some kind. And this is probably idea in here as well, since they want to bring some attention to it. Honestly, it feels like it's gonna be one of those, like... It feels like one of those, like, 2.x almost. Like, actually, the 0.1 key art is always kind of a little funky, honestly, right? It's never really, like, super MSQ tied like some of the later patches, right? Like, the 0.1 patch key arts aren't, like, they're not, like, bad or anything. But often they tend to focus on not what's happening in the MSQ, right? More so than, like, the later patches. Like, I mean, this key art's a prime example. We've got Cloud of Darkness, a side piece of content. Rina and Gaia's possible ultimate form, also side content. We've got the Alliance raid kind of mostly front and center. Which is fine. But Cool Jaja is maybe gonna be in the side content. I mean, we don't know how we're gonna get to the Echoes of... It's Echoes of Vana'diel, right? I'm not mixing it up with another title, right? He could very well be involved in the story that had how we get to the Echoes of Vana'diel portion of it, right? And the idea of them fighting, I mean... I don't know. She doesn't even, like, look at, like, she's looking at him. Like, she looks like she's looking past him, too. And I mean, yes, he looks like he's kind of targeting her, but she looks like she's kind of, like, looking past him. But yeah, this key art is nice, but I also think that it's one of those points with the 0.1 where it's, like, it's got elements of the story. It's got, like, one thing. It looks like it might have one thing, whatever Bakul Jaja's gonna be doing with it. But it looks like it's mostly like, here's the side stuff that we're gonna be doing. Versus like the point, especially things like 0.5. I mean, heck, even, what is it? Shadowbringers' 0.1 was key art essentially for the near raids. But yeah, I don't think Bakul Jaja was like slapdash thrown in there. I think this is just one of those like pieces that was like, this is a piece that can be done as things are like finishing up and they figured out all like the parts that they want. But Cool Jaja, yeah, could be in the Pelo quest. I could also see him being involved in somehow, in however 11 gets like merged into the story somehow. I could see him in some capacity over there as well. I could see that being possible. What do you guys think? Do you think he's actually fighting Prish? I mean, it sounds like we've got some other ideas, like maybe he's in Pelu, maybe he's in some other side quest. I guess we'll find out. I think my bet, based on the key art, is that he's involved in how we get to the Alliance raid. Like, he's involved in the quest line. But maybe he's not like a maybe he becomes a major element over there. Or yeah, Pelu sounds like a good idea as well. Prish punches first, ask questions later. Possible. I mean, Bakul Jaja could be that too, you know? Next, semi-story related as well. About Queen Eternal EX. So we've got people wondering if Wukla moment will be also in the EX trial. And we've got we got the pictures from the producer letter live. And we've got that the normal cut-in scene picture. And comments from people online. I'm not gonna like highlight because my mouse is being a little annoying. But the first one here we've got is, will there be that Wukla moment or not in EX? Pink here, like, you know, question mark, implying like you don't know who, like they're speaking off screen. Of course I'll have my stage in EX too. No, number 2, TOO2, by the way. Green saying, I'm curious to see if it's there or not. This one, you know how I feel about this mechanic. Wonder how that wall mechanic will work in EX. A boss to make healers cry. And then somebody's saying that it feels like you're suddenly in a variety TV show. Because I don't know, I think you guys probably have seen bits and pieces of that sort of thing. Where they have like those little like special hole shapes. The variety show contestants have to fit through just perfectly so they don't fall off into the whatever thing that they have going on. That kind of thing. I'm like trying to make my mouse cooperate a bit better. I'm kind of honestly, I'm hoping this isn't even in it. I'm honestly just hoping, I'm hoping that this wall mechanic isn't even in there because it's my least favorite mechanic. It's not even about the holes. It's depth. I have problems with depth and visualizing it in this specific field. I don't know. I'm hoping this isn't here. I do think, what other times have we had like a character like pop in? The only one I can think of that has a similar vibe was Gaia in E8 normal, and that was removed from E8 Savage, but we got a different cutscene. I mean, it's not that weird for like, oh, but what if Wukalamat didn't come in to pull Sphene to her senses and force that part of her AI to be remembered? What if the Queen Eternal was just left to rampage and go off the rails? Like, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that as a direction they take for the EX trial. I think that's actually probably more likely than Wukalamat actually showing up. Because I think for an EX, they wouldn't really want a cutscene like that built in. And with the way that it's structured... as a cutscene, I don't think it would be easy to incorporate that much. So, yeah, oh yeah, the Scion scene was also removed in the EX for Endsinger too, right? So yeah, I think... I definitely... you know, I'm not saying this because I don't want Wukalamat. I'm just saying I don't think that that cutscene will work in EX. And I think that if she's gonna be in it, it has to be like completely done from scratch, essentially. And I think narratively, I think it would also make sense, like, from like the idea of like, well, let's imagine if she was just left to go crazy. What if the Queen Eternal was left to go crazy and off the rails, and you know, no, she's not suddenly snapped back to Sphene. Next, I don't remember the order these showed up in the PLL, so I'm just kind of going through them at this case. We've got them talking about the, what is it called? Hall of the Novice update. And I think one thing that's interesting to me, what we're gonna go through, is the thing that they focus on is something that I don't think I've seen as many people request or like jump to this extent in the Western sphere. But yeah, here's the pictures there. You know, the explanation, of course, from the PLL, which we can all, you know, remember. Most of these end up saying like, tell them how to tank swap, tell them how to use Shirk. You know, people don't know how to tank swap either. Please explain to them how to use Shirk. Or things like, teach them how to use their mitigation. Explain to them how and when to use their mitigation. You know, I really hope they have a plan to teach them how to do tank swaps. I think it'd be best if this was required to be done at least once. And then somebody's saying, well, what kind of are there even pieces of content? Are there even duties that you need to use Shirk as a newbie? Like, a few. What would be the first one that you would definitely need to, though? Probably somewhere in Heavensward, maybe? They really, like, a lot of people, essentially, the one that they're jumping to is just jumping to the idea that we need to teach people how to tank swap. And I do think that was one I mentioned as well, very briefly, but there were definitely things that I think at least North American players will probably jump to before they jump to a tank swap. Because at the very least, tank swaps are... You can usually fudge it in normal content and not bother with a tank swap. Not because you shouldn't or can't, but because... Actually, no, how do I want to put this? Not because you don't need to, because you really should, but because you can just wing it and then just hopefully not have to deal with it. Because people don't understand it. You know? I think... Like, what are the things that you guys are obviously we've seen, you know, avoiding the tank thingy, spreading these out, stacking, that sort of stuff. I forget what other things. I mean, I think one thing I think some people in NA would be explaining what circles are good and bad. Like, this is asylum, this is sacred soil, you should stand in those. This is Doton, you should put the enemies in this kind of thing. I think that would be a thing that would be appreciated, things like that. I'm trying to think. The idea of mitigation explanation, making sure that tanks use mitigation is definitely a thing. But I think also, for me as a healer, I want to see people told not to just stand wherever. I think that's one thing that also needs to be taught, is like, that's one thing that I think I probably see more, is people just standing wherever the heck and not even caring, like, oh, I'm out in Timbuktu even though I'm a samurai or a melee. I'm not doing damage, but like, I'm all the way over here. Or, hey, I'm a bard up in bumblefuck nowhere, not getting heals because I'm in bumblefuck nowhere. Teaching players to actually stand near each other is a factor that you don't realize is a problem until, like, you actually pay attention. I guess, yeah, if you're gonna be doing harder in content, maybe that would be, like, another step. Like, oh, that would be more of a... That would definitely... Tank stops would definitely be more of an intermediate stop. Because it's not, like, super required in normal content. Because most of these people will probably only ever do 4-mans. So you don't really need to worry about tank swapping when there's only one tank. But things like stand together. Stand together to get heals. If you are a melee, you should be standing near the boss. Miss up to right by thinking the eye tether with that, yeah, explaining what other party members' things are is also good. Like, this is the fairy tether. No, you don't want to break that. That one's good. That one's good for you. Let it stay. Like, explaining what your party members think. Even if you don't explain like what it does specifically, just saying these are good, these you want, and these are bad. See, it's fine if the tanks run out of the Doton, but yeah, like, they need to just know, like, at the very least, the enemy should try to stay in it. I guess I was just a little surprised that the first thing a lot of these Japanese users jumped to was teach them how to do a tank swap. Please teach them how to do a tank swap. Teach them how to use shirk. Definitely the idea of using mitigation, like when to use a mitigation, is also a factor. Absolutely, and I definitely think that's something that people would want as well. But also, like, how do you teach somebody to, like, use mitigation properly? How do you teach someone to use their tank cooldowns, like, well? It is a bit of a vibe, you know, feel it out kind of thing. So that one's I think a little harder. But definitely, I can definitely see them eventually tackling the idea of a tank swap. But I think that, at least on the NA side of things, I definitely think that some more basic things should be explained first. I think that there might be a few where they can at least benefit from a tank swap. Like, Alexander has the one fight where it can at least benefit from a tank swap. And depending on how long, you might be able to benefit from a tank swap. But it's not like you can't do it without a tank swap. It's just, it would be beneficial with a tank swap. If anything, that would be more reason to, like, teach them at the lower levels, because then it's not like all of a sudden they try, like, a harder thing and they have to, like, suddenly learn, like, what even is this, right? You know? Obviously, more difficult content should include more concepts, but I definitely think that teaching it like, teaching it with these other things might not necessarily be a bad thing. Yeah. If only so that, heck, like, they can include it in other content, right? And so then it's not this sudden, like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, tank swap? What does that mean? How do I do that? Like, the first time they decided to dip into, like, EX. It makes that hurdle into EX smaller, easier, if they are able to teach it earlier and maybe include it in lower level content. Because then if people know what it is and know how to do it, then you won't have to explain it to them in the instance kind of thing. So I think including it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I don't think including it would be a bad thing. But I don't think it would be as benefit. I don't think it would be as big a benefit, at least for NA, and then for like your regular gameplay, as like other things that they could teach. And that's why I was a little surprised to see it as pretty much every single one of, not every single one, but a lot of these, well, the main one that they talked about, like the online reaction. Then, jumping a bit up in difficulty, looking at the Eden Ultimate, the account Mitsurugi says that the picture, this picture in particular, looks like it will be a combination of apocalypse, but in this case, they're calling it like, is this quad APOC? Is this quad apocalypse? And the idea of it being including spell and waiting. APOC plus spell and waiting. Someone's like, apocalypse for apocalypse. There's 4 of them! There's 4 of them! Is how I translated it. But it's like, holy, isn't that a bit much? And I feel like translating it, there's 4 of them, feels a bit more of the, you know, vibe. And then, look! It's not just 3, it's 4! And spell and waiting! APOC and spell and waiting? I'll be healing tanks thinking, damn, that sucks, dude. While double APOC was the worst for me as a tank, I have no fear now. Good luck, tanks. I don't know, it's been so long since I did Eden Savage that I actually don't remember how we do APOC. I don't actually remember how APOC works. I can't remember how, like, bad or whatever the old NA strats were. But, yeah. Quad APOC. The era of triple APOC is over. Quad APOC. It is now quad APOC era. And on the other portion of high-end content about the chaotic raid reactions. What do players' wishful thinking about the raid rewards for the chaotic alliance raids? So they showed all those pictures. We've got 9 saying to make people want to help 200 tokens. I don't know if they mean like a token for it or like tomes. I'm not actually sure, but I maybe tomes. Someone saying, 17 saying, I'd clear 100 times to be able to wear the Cloud of Darkness's outfit. 19 saying, you clear once a week to do 1% more DPS to the boss, max of 50% increase. 24 is saying, isn't the point of this level of high-end content to be done for fun and not focused on the rewards? That said, please make it some glam item I don't care about. I don't want to do this. And on social networking sites, so basically just Twitter, someone saying, oh, we get a Cloud of Darkness mount. Upgrade heliometry weapons. Loot rolls between 24 people. Lamau, awful. Oof. Wait, which one is this one? Oh, I want her costume set. I want the Cloud of Darkness's costume set. Yeah, what kind of things? I think it might be too early. I mean, if they don't do a Criterion, a Tombstone upgrade maybe makes sense, like to get the glowy version. If they do Criterion, then obviously that's probably gonna go to Criterion. Considering the mount was all people like really want the other 24-man instances for, like, a mount technically would probably be enough for some people anyway. I do at least agree with the first part with 24. You know, it should be more about just doing it because it's fun. I do think they're ending. I was like, please, I just want it to be something I don't even want, so I don't have to do this. Because honestly, I honestly kind of am in the same boat. I don't really want to deal with joining a Discord to maybe find enough people to do it, or alternatively finding a static to do it. Because, like, I don't want to schedule 24 people, and I don't really want to deal with a giant Discord to maybe find enough people at a specific time to run it. That's kind of why I don't really like, or maybe I don't say like, but don't really bother with the 24 mans that we have right now, because I feel like I have to join one of those ginormous Discords to do it on NA, and then only maybe will I find will I be online when they're running it or something. And while that works for some people, I mean, that just sounds like it just sounds like a hassle to me. It just sounds like a hassle to me to join a giant Discord. And no matter which way I go about it, to me, this just sounds like a giant hassle. I kind of agree mostly with 24 about, like, I don't know if I want to do this. Speaking of the difficulty was the other part. Was actually the other portion that I copied for this. So Mr. Ozma is confirmed to be doing it. He tweeted both in English and Japanese that he's doing it. He's designing it. Here, if raising it isn't banned, so if we can actually raise, I guess it's doable. Someone making a joke saying, B Alliance is full, Lamau. 12 here is saying, isn't this a bit much? 24 people all following the dance of a Savage level content together? I doubt it'll go well outside of statics. I think it'll be closer to Baldessian's Arsenal, difficulty-wise. 30, where's 30? There they are. 30 saying, a dead Alliance party is a summoner, red mage, or other Alliance healers. Time to shine! 39 is the next one I focused on. Saying, chaotic Alliance raid, huh? Maybe a bit above original Ozma, but a bit below Savage Gunhilder in difficulty. I think it'll be at a difficulty that doing it in a pug should be possible on the first day. And then 50 saying, and this is just vibe, honestly, if I wipe the raid, I'll have to apologize to 23 people. God, I'd want to die. Yeah. I don't know if, I mean, I never did the Save the Queen instance. I never did Save the Queen instance, and I never did Baldessian Arsenal, right? I never did either of those, again, because the reason I stated before that it feels like I have to, at least on NA, I'd have to join this, like, Discord, and then maybe I can go in one of their, like, time slots or whatever. And then there's a matter of, like, well, if there's actual progging that's required, if it's meant as, like, Savage level, then, like, it's not gonna be a one sitting and done kind of thing. Like, even after people figure everything out, we have to practice these sorts of things, right? And I think 12's point of saying, like, this sounds like a bit much. Like, the idea of it actually being Savage level mechanics, like, 24 people all doing the Savage level dance is, I mean, it's chaotic, yes, and that's kind of the why it's named chaotic. But I think that, like, at that point, there's too many, at least I think that there's kind of almost too many possibilities of weak points, and there's too many variables to feel like, just based on player number, that I don't know how much, like, that'll be fun. I don't know. I definitely hope that, obviously, like, raising should not be banned. Like, I don't want it to be, like, Criterion. That would be awful, right? I do think that part of the difficulty should be factored in, that the people are the difficulty just as much as the mechanics, right? That it shouldn't just be the Alliance raid giving you these high-end, you know, Savage level mechanics. Maybe one or two. But I definitely think that, like, the people are gonna be maybe a third of the difficulty. I just don't know if I'm gonna have it in... Personally, I don't know if I'm gonna have it in me to bother with it, because I already kind of don't care for how Delibrum and Baldessian are handled in the NA sphere. Like, I just can't be bothered to join a giant Discord to join a party. And I don't really want to organize a static. I don't really want to organize a static. So, I doubt we'll be seeing Savage Alliance raids anytime soon. On here, anyway. But yeah, I think mechanically it shouldn't... I think I can say, I think that I hope mechanically it's kind of an in-between between a savage, you know, and extremes. Like, maybe like a little bit like in between. Because, yeah, people become part of the difficulty. By having so many people, like, that definitely adds to the difficulty in a way that we've only kind of had before, is what I'll say. Kind of had. And I mean, those communities are already pretty, like, small. I kind of wonder if there'll be enough people that do it, that they do intend on doing it, that they do end up doing it in the future. I guess we'll find out, though. And then finally, about the housing updates. So, 827 saying, if you want to upgrade the inside to an L, it should be like 50 million gil. 828 saying, even that's too cheap. You can get an L without... You're essentially getting an L without needing the lotto for it. 831 saying, if it's the same price as an actual L-size house, I'd have no problem paying it. I keep trying to win an L plot and don't win, so my savings just keep piling up. I wonder if you renovate, for example, back down to an S afterwards, thinking maybe you didn't need all that space anyway. Will you get a refund, like, when you don't win the plot? They started thinking about it, but also 864 going on about, I see how this works. People who have an S house probably let their subs lapse more, so they'd make them invest the amount of an L-sized house, and they're less likely to stop subbing. 865 saying, big brain. Big brain right there. 872 here saying the people who want an L have the money but can't get a plot. So I think something more like 100 mil will make those who already own L plots happy. So what do you guys think the pricing will be? I do think the point that essentially, yeah, you're getting the inside of an L without having to getting the L plot, but that also comes with its drawbacks, right? Like, your yard is still whatever size plot you actually bought. Like, that's unchangeable. As far as we know, anyway. The inside will change, but the outside won't. So the outside is still more limited than an actual L plot, right? I think at the very least being the same price makes sense to me. I understand that some people that already have an L house might be a little frustrated, but I mean, they have the L exterior too, right? Both in the design, like, so the actual house design, but also the amount of yard space that they have to decorate. And for some of them, that also means if they bother with gardening, they get 3 plots of gardening versus mediums 2 and smalls 1 space. You can put less gardening spots if you bother with the gardening side of things on the smaller lawns. And as far as we know, the lawns are not gonna change. Only the inside is gonna change. So technically, even if you get an L inside, that only impacts your decorative abilities. And I guess maybe the little flower pots will be impacted, but as far as we know, there's no intent on having like crossbreeding flower pots anytime soon on the inside, so yeah. So technically, the people who have L plots still have the better plot. Like, they still have a decent amount, in my opinion, of benefits over somebody who gets a medium plot but has the insides of a large. So I guess we'll see how much they place it at. I think setting it at the lower end is fine because it's only the inside, which is only decorative. But I definitely think it should still be decently expensive. And as a little tidbit at the end here about the Mahjong Voices, a feature near and dear to me. We got some funny little comments here. Leave that chi to me. Warrior of Light saying, Alphino, Give me the one peen, please. Tachibana-san, Alpha knows Japanese voice actor, sounds like he had a lot of fun. Enterprise engage! Estinian would think the white dragon tiles are duds. Encouragement? From your stroller? Alize plays greedy. And this comment, Estinian would play strip mahjong and end up butt naked. I think the two comments about Estinian are also pretty funny, even though I think that there's two sides, right? There's the Estinian would not know how to play mahjong at all. But I also am kind of partial to the idea that Estinian is actually secretly really, really good at mahjong. Like, he knows how to play, but he doesn't know when to quit. You know? He gambles his money away, not because he can't play, but because he's just stupid. But he knows how to play. Like, he's secretly actually good at mahjong is what, like, is my idea. But I guess we'll hear his voices and see which one it sounds more like when we actually get it. And finally, on our tidbits sides, we've got 2 new upcoming Taito merch. The Spriggan, I just translated as like small items holder. I don't really know how to put this into a single word. But it's this tiny little Spriggan bunny with a little basket. I'm gonna have to try to get this, honestly. It's really cute. It's 12 centimeters tall. It will be releasing... Oh, they moved it. They moved it to August 1st, which means it's out now. So I'm probably gonna try to get it. It's very cute. I love Spriggans. Look at him. Look at his little basket. How cute. And then they don't have a picture? Yeah, there's no picture yet. But this will be a light-up mouse and mousepad, Volume 4. They've previously released a variety of mice and mouse pads with like a portion. It's kind of on the part where your like palm rests. It'll have a cutout that's like got the light behind it. I think that one of them was the Garlean symbol. One of them I think was the Crystarium logo. I forget all of them. But this will have 3 different variations. They will be a 23 centimeter, I assume that's the length of the mouse. They did look pretty long from what I remember, like lengthwise they felt pretty long. But that was, yeah. So that's coming out at the end of the month apparently. But we don't know what they look like yet, unfortunately. So I can't show any pictures of that. But yeah, look at little buddy. Look at our little buddy. Ain't he a cutie? And those are the topics that I have for this time. And if you'd like to see more, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe on the YouTube side when I post this video later this week. I also live stream both on YouTube and Twitch almost every day and record these lives every other week on Sundays. And with that, I will see the YouTube video side next time. Oyasumi, bye bye. I gotta hit the stop recording button. Bye.